When the pressure is high and the energy low, that's when your business needs inspiration to change and to grow. It's also when true captains show up. Hi, I'm Mark Francis, and I'm the host of this podcast that invites industry leaders from all over the world to answer the question, who's your captain? When you need to motivate and to mobilize, to develop and enable your team. Whether you are new to being a leader or you aspire to be a captain, this podcast is for you. Welcome everybody to Who's Your Captain. I'm totally thrilled to be joined today by the brilliance of Brenda Dempsey. Hi, Brenda.
Oh, hi, Mark. Thanks very much for having me along for this cozy chat this afternoon.
It will be cozy. It will be cozy. It'll be amazingly insightful as well, because Brenda is my publisher. So I had the amazing good fortune to double whammy. The amazing good fortune that I got a phone call out of the blue from Brenda, who I'd not met before, and the phone went and she said, "Do you want to write a book?" And I said, "Funny you should say that. I actually do." And all of us have got a book in us, haven't we? And I believe genuinely it's crucial to have someone like Brenda and Book Brilliance Publishing to help, because I've got all the ideas, I've got the stories, but how do you frame them in a way that is structured, easy to read, and in a way that makes people want to read it, frankly? And so Brenda's help for me, I just want to transfer into this podcast for anyone who wants to write a book. And it's your perspective on leadership, both as someone who has led in education and now in publishing, Brenda, but also your perspective as an author, because you're a brilliant author as well. So it's those three little tangents that I'd love to have a cozy chat about, if that works for you.
Absolutely.
Now, you are a business leader. You're many, many other things than that, Brenda, but as a business leader, running a brilliant business called Book Brilliance Publishing, what's your greatest insight in that journey? Because it's been a few years now. What's your insight as a leader of a business?
Well, funnily enough that you asked me that question, this has come up and you had a guest, it might have been last week, and sorry, I've forgotten his name. And you were talking about money and things like that, you know?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I was listening and I thought, my goodness, this is the second time I've heard this same message in a month. The first time was early on in January the 9th to be exact. I went to a mastermind. And,
those are great.
Masterminds go all the way back to, Napoleon Hill and all of that, Tom Ford, all of them, Carnegie, all sitting round because they knew there's magic in bringing minds together. So one of my coaches, Richard Woods, he created this mastermind, all hand selected. And I was only one of two women amongst 17 people in that room.
Not enough.
I know, not enough. Of course. I did have a wee word with him.
Rightly.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be addressed for sure. Because he's not like that though. But I just think it was the start of the year. It's like not everybody's ready on the 9th of January to start. Now, why am I taking so long to tell this story? Because in amongst those 17 people in that room, there was a chap there, David, don't know his surname, can't remember it. Anyway, he had been part of Dragon's Den and he's an investor and all sorts of things. And we were all going round the table about a takeaway. And his takeaway was this: own your numbers. Now, I've been talking a lot about that. Own your numbers. And I can say, hand in heart, when I first started Book Brilliance Publishing, it had nothing to do with numbers, a total business mindset. It was all about who can I help, who can I serve, what difference can I make? It was all those really soft...
Natural passion, wasn't it? Natural passion.
Yeah, like women, I hate to say this, but I mean, I've interviewed thousands of women over the last 10 years or so, and women do often start from that perspective. What am I good at? I want to help people. I want to help people. They can't really articulate what it is exactly, but their heart's in the right place. And, you know, the business comes second and making money comes last, you know. But I have changed and stepped into my business woman crown, shall we say,
I like
and
it.
know that you really have to start with your business. Sorry, your numbers, owning your
Yeah,
numbers.
that's right.
So, and I was at the accountant recently because I had been left hanging dry by my other accountant, and you know, the books had to be in 31st of January, and they should have been done in the summer. But anyway, that's another story. But and I was saying to them, the accountant, I wish um, I had the foresight or insight or any other kind of sight that when I started out, I started with numbers. And
Yeah.
maybe I'd be in a slightly different place from where I am today. But, you know, it is what it is, and you're never too late, and every day's a school day. And it definitely goes back to being of a generation where financial literacy was not a thing. And it wasn't in my world, you know. I lived, my parents, it was like, got paid, spent the money, got the food, and you waited for Friday. It was that era where a lot of working class people, particularly in West Coast Scotland, and that's how they lived, you know. Very few people had cars or all sorts of stuff. And so therefore, owning your numbers has been something that has been coming to me over and over and over again. It's like a megaphone. So of course, you've got to sit up and take notice, haven't you? When the universe gives you uh,
I think that's
time.
true, Brenda, isn't it? Yeah. I think the other side of your background, because I think it's helped shape who you are as a leader as well, is an
Yeah, yeah,
extraordinary resilience. I mean, extraordinary. You know, you were a young mum with 4 kids, and you were a single mum, and you made yourself successful both as a mum and then as a business woman as well.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's brilliant resilience, isn't it? I mean, it's as
Yeah,
simple as
that is
that.
resilient, you know. And the bit that you left out there, Mark, was I was homeless. I was
Oh
homeless with
gosh,
these
yes,
4
as well.
children
Gosh, yes.
in the final year of my degree. Now, most people, man or woman, would have crumbled with all the pressure. And also, at that stage, my parents were becoming ill. My mother was in a wheelchair. My father wasn't well. So I had a great sense of duty and commitment to my parents. I loved them dearly, of course. So it didn't feel like, oh, I've got to do it because it's my mum and dad. I wanted to do it, but still, there was so much pull on me. I don't know, we're kind of getting off the fact about the money, aren't we here? But anyway, because you brought up resilience, you see. So so the notice I had nothing. I had £88 a week to live off, clothes, feed 4 children, all the stuff that it entailed, schools, everything. Of course, they got free meals, didn't they? Because for a window of a year, I had to rely on benefits. So, you know, it helps you understand money a bit more. And that's why I didn't give up. I had to get that degree, or I would have been subjected to poverty. Well, who knows? Who knows? But anyway, getting that degree and knowing I could get a good job, I could buy a house again, I could do all the things that my children had been used to before we found ourselves in this situation. So, yes, but as a business owner, know your numbers. And actually, that's where you should start. Not with, I want to help people, but, you know, hindsight
Exactly.
is a great
Yeah.
thing, wisdom is a great thing. And now, that's very much part of it, because if you don't make money, you've not got a business, you've got a hobby. And if you don't make money, you can't travel the world. And you know, you and I like traveling.
Yeah. Do you know that? I mean, there's so much to learn here. I'm hoping that people who are watching and listening are saying, do you know what? It is possible. It's as simple as that. Yes, I can. You were a brilliantly successful teacher in education. You then moved into the world of publishing and being an author. You've authored multiple books and brought loads of value in lots of different areas. I mean, Voices of Women, sensational book, and putting where it should be this point about, and it's my theme in my book, about female leadership, vital in our society today, more vital than it's ever been. the desire and need to have women in decision-making positions, so that it isn't just a bunch of blokes who think they know what the right answer is. Now, coming back to this point about being an author, because you are wonderfully prolific as an author, what is it that you would advise someone who's starting their book for the first time, their first ever book? What top advice would you give someone just starting out on the journey to be an author?
Well, there's two things. And I'm just writing a book just now called The Confident Author. And I've been working on that since 7 o'clock this morning.
I love it.
I'm writing the book as we speak.
I love it.
And what I've learned from writing myself and working with others, and you know firsthand, is before we write a single word, there's a lot of things we need to understand and get deep into the foundation. Because I say it's like the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, the Empire State Building, the Shard. If you don't have deep foundations, you're not going anywhere. I don't care how brilliant you are. You need those deep foundations, because writing a book is the easy part, as you well know.
Well, I think this was the massive value you brought, Brenda, right from the get-go for me, because I had loads of stories and I was ready to go. And I'm the sort of person that says, right, page 1, off you go. And your process is key to foundational work. And that foundation's simple things like, what's the theme? I know that sounds so simple, but actually, what's the red thread? And where does that come from? And what are your values? What's the background to all of that? And what's your sense of purpose? And get that first, because if you haven't got that, the book has no soul. I mean, that's the reality. Right. And that was magic for me. And it was wonderfully surprising, because I kind of thought you would just help me get the words right. And actually that comes much, much later.
Yeah.
So that's a brilliant top tip, is foundation first. And your process, which I commend to anybody, is top drawer, because Brenda leads that, everybody. She sits down and is the facilitator of a discussion. It's top drawer. Brenda, what else? What else is your advice for pending authors?
Those foundational questions about purpose and why, Simon Sinek start with why, but actually I was starting with why before Simon Sinek wrote that book, and Simon Sinek, great kudos to that guy, because he knew that what he was bringing back to the forefront wasn't his intellectual property. Starting with why had been something, we could go back to Napoleon Hill, probably could go back to Socrates, understand why you're doing something and connect that with your purpose, and then worrying about the what and then the how comes last. So that why, then because I say it starts from the inside. If you want longevity with your book, you forget writing a book in 30 days. We all know what we think about people that take thousands of pounds, I kid you not, thousands of pounds from people to tell them they'll write a book in 30 days, all sorts of stuff. You and I know the blood, sweat and tears that goes into writing a book and the importance of leaving space. But that foundation, but you did mention something that's absolutely crucial for me, and that's your values. And I take people through a values exercise. And, a lot of people, I'll ask, have you been through a values exercise before? Some people say yes, some people say no. I say, well, I think you might find this one a bit different. And what makes it different is because it doesn't come from your head. It's nothing to do with ego. It's nothing to do with your thought processing. It's to do with the feeling, because it's soul talk. It's what drives you. And we've all got one main driver in it. Like, we've got lots of drivers, but there's one main driver. It's like if you were a stick of rock, it would go through. Mine's is integrity. Who are you when no one's looking? And my story about that is, if I'm cleaning out my cupboard, or I'm sitting doing a podcast, working with a client, writing a book, I'm going to give the best of me, not a bit of me, the best of me all times. I'm going to try my best. Now, my best, we don't do comparison, of course, but my best compared to someone else might not be that brilliant, But as I said, Don't compare. The only comparison's yourself. The only competition you've got is the person that you see in the mirror when you look in that mirror. And I believe that. And that's a philosophy that I live by. So that integrity, what do people say about you when you're not in the room? What are they applauding you for? Do you keep
It's
your
great,
word?
this, Brenda.
When you
This,
when
it's
you
magic.
when you say you'll turn up, do you turn up? Um, I'm not saying there's times in my life when I've got caught in traffic or there's been an accident or somebody's died and my life trajectory changes for a few months. But there's a difference between, oh yeah, I'll do it, and people don't show up. I am telling you, and you probably know it in your own business as well, the amount of people that say they're driven by integrity, they don't show up, they don't stick to the word, they don't give you an excuse, you get ghosting, you even get gaslighting sometimes. What's happening today, I can't believe I'm using this language, but, so therefore, when you're connected with your values, we eliminate all this stuff. We eliminate it. In my world, be the best you can be and find that driving a value and live by it. People will know it. I can tell, as you know, when I'm doing the values, I can guess people's values. I don't know, guess. No, a channel. But you know what I mean? And I'm not always 100% accurate, but I'm not very far from the.
No, and this is the magic in your process, Brenda, because actually you refine them down, don't you? Through discussion, through interaction, you're refining down a big list because we all have a number of values, and then it becomes what are your top three and what is the one? And the power in it for me is that I've had some lovely feedback about the book, and the most magical feedback is when people say, I hear your voice in this book. So it sounds like I'm listening to you. And that's about the values, isn't it? Who you are runs through the book. Now, the stories, of course, are distinct, but actually the value comes through. And I think that's the key point. So it's the process you follow that's an enabler, not least. And I remember another discussion you and I had where what are the chapters? And are they aligned with the theme and the values? And obviously, do they have a logical flow? And I think, again, without that advice, I think I would have had a scattergun approach by nature to what I wrote and how I wrote it. So there's a real structure behind what you advise and do. And then you've got a brilliant team behind you as well. I want to call out Olivia Eisenberger, who is brilliant at her job because there's editing to be done and there's print setting and all the elements that make the book a proper book, really.
Yeah. And that's teamwork, and maybe we can talk about teamwork as well. But you're right. And I was writing about that today. And, I've refined as a teacher, I refine and refine and refine. I'm a reflective practitioner. So everything I do, I go back and I think two stars and a wish. What two things are working great? What could I be better at? And that's where the integrity comes in. I do think we're good at customer service, but I know we can even be
very good.
better.
No, you're very good. I think as well, Brenda, that this is again where I'd be advising people to seek out a publisher for the book, because two of my brothers have published books and have self-published. And in both cases, by the way, that was one of the inspirations for me writing one, sibling rivalry.
Yeah.
But both have said they wish they had actually used a publisher of the quality like Book Brilliance Publishing, because it's all the things we've discussed that adds the value that you just don't know. If you've never written a book,
and
you don't know that lovely conversation you and I had, Brenda, when I was going, what do we call the subtitle in the book? And we must have gone back and forth on every single word for 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, that's the point. It's like, oh, should we call it Beyond? No, I don't like the word. No, I like the word Beyond. So it was word for word when it mattered. And that's part of the magic.
And that is, and I'm a wordsmith, I was an English teacher. I love words. I got it from my father when we used to play word day and all sorts of games. I was an excellent speller at school and everything. Although I was better at maths when I was younger, but now my maths is kind of going downhill as I'm aging. But words, every word, because I believe I love the work of Dr. David Hawkins. and Dr. David Hawkins' map of consciousness, and every word's got a vibrational frequency. It's
Yeah.
all linked to kinesthetics,
Yes,
and
kinesthetics.
yeah, and yeah, very feely, and when you look at that courage, the line of transformation begins at 200. It goes from 0 to 1,000. Blame and guilt. Now think of society. Where does society reside? Blame, guilt, pointing the finger all the time. Nobody takes responsibility. But when you find courage, and that was the title of my first book, Voices of Courage, because voice equals truth. Because when you can find courage to face yourself, to do anything, to take action, to leave a failed marriage, become homeless, when you have these choices, and Viktor Frankl comes to mind, always, always, always Viktor Frankl, who was an Austrian psychologist during the Second World War. He was a Jew. The Nazis
Imprisoned, wasn't he?
imprisoned him.
Remarkable, remarkable man.
I mean, if you've Man's Search for Meaning, it sits in my shelf
remarkable
over
book.
here. And, you know, they stripped him naked. And the one thing that they couldn't take from him was how he chose to respond. And, you know, we're human. So sometimes I'll get annoyed, but more often than not, I am in control. And because I'm a reflective practitioner and I can breathe and I've got all these tools, I will choose how to respond. So my choice is naturally optimistic positivity. As you know, we've come from the
We're
same.
quite similar in that sense, aren't we?
You know?
I'd love to talk to you about some of your books because they're inspirational for lots of reasons, apart from being brilliantly written. There's a fairly recent one which is about brilliance. So there's a couple of keywords in there. Brilliance, the courage to be you. Did I get that right?
Oh yeah, you're letting the cat out the bag. That's a book that
Is that next? Is that the next one?
So the book that I have to have finished. I wanted it finished this week. It might take me a week more. Just depends what else I do. I'm almost there. But it's all the front and back matter. You know how long that takes. Writing the actual main part of the book, but it's the back and forth, the front matter, the reviews, the foreword, the dedication, the acknowledgements. You think that these things are easy to do, but they take time, like everything else, you know. But Brilliance, the Courage to Be You, that is my, I would say that is my purpose book for being on this earth. Because I talked
about... So this is big. This is a biggie.
This is big. This is Brenda Dempsey, heart, soul, laid open on the floor. My wisdom in my almost 7th decade now, to be shared. And I'll talk about why that is. But brilliance. So I use brilliance everywhere. And you know, I use brilliance in the people around me. Start using brilliance. I use raw and real. That's what I call authentic. We had a chat about that the other week, last week, about being genuine. Because authenticity is overused now, right? It's kind of dying a death. But it means the same thing. So I talk about being raw and real. What you see is what you get. You know, I don't try and sugarcoat anything. If I don't know, I'll say, I don't know, I'll find out. Being a teacher, I'll go straight away from a call, do it. If I make a mistake, I'll say, sorry, I got that wrong. Maybe I didn't think enough, or maybe I should have X, Y, and Z, whatever. And that's integrity in me. There's no point in saying, I get held up at another meeting when I've sat down. This happened to me on Friday. I was sitting and all of a sudden I was feeling really tired and I sat down and next thing I look at the time and I thought, I'm supposed to be on a call at 4 o'clock and this was like 25 past 4, you know? So I messaged the lady.
We've all felt that, haven't we? We've all felt that moment. You go, oh no.
But why? So I messaged the lady straight away. I says, I'm really, really sorry. Are you still around? I can jump on now. And we did. And the first thing I said was, I'm not, you know, what you see is what you get. I was so tired. I sat down and the time ran away with me and I forgot I had your 4 o'clock call. I'm really, really sorry. And she went, oh, don't worry, we're human. She was so lovely, you know. But you see, but that wasn't always the way for me. That wasn't always the way for me. I used to be terrified to speak my truth. And that's why voice is important to me. because no matter what you said, you were shut down, or you were told to shut up, or you weren't taken seriously, or nobody listened. You felt unheard. So I understand when people want to write a book and they say, I don't, who's going to listen to me? That is a
That's
serious
huge.
question,
Oh, it's
that
huge.
actually, the process, the byproduct is more confidence, is clarity, and a conviction to that purpose and the mission that you're on in your life, why you do what you do. That becomes so super clear. But we don't step out to do that in an overt way. It's the byproduct of doing all the little steps as you go along. So it's so important that you just speak the truth, you be raw and real, because what I've found since working with people on books is they appreciate that. And I realize I've done a number of anthologies, as you know, and I realized that people just strangers would come on a call with me and I'd go, hello, how are you? I'm Brenda, la la la, smile, 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 natural, not put on. And I would get all this outpouring of years of stuff that had been buried deep down that they were terrified to say. We used to do a networking event, and the first thing we says, this is a safe and secure space. You can speak your truth. No one here, there's no judgment, and when people get that permission, they don't need it, but they think they do, because they're conditioned. They're conditioned, aren't they?
It's
We're all
huge.
conditioned by culture, by our upbringing, by society, and they're conditioned to think somebody needs to say, yeah, it's okay for you to do that, when in fact you need nobody's permission by your own. That's it, and that's what I remember what we're talking about now. That's what brilliance, the courage to be used, all about.
It is. Oh,
It's
it's great.
it's the permission to remember who you were born to be. Because by the time we're 2, 4, definitely by 7, the impact years, it's knocked out of us. If we take, I hope I can say this, but if we take like culture, when you see 2 babies and the very small children together, they're not thinking, you're a different colour from me, your eyes look
Not
different.
at all.
They don't think. That's all conditioning in our world, so people can control. You see? So this is how I love uh, Viktor Frankl, because don't let anybody control you, anything. You've got the power of your own thoughts. So you have to believe in yourself, and that comes from the value where we started that I spoke about. Because once you know who you are, what you stand for, what you stand against, then it's easier to take control. And I've been talking about this recently with some of my staff, that sometimes people just want to control you. Well, the bottom line is they can only control themselves, and when they learn that, then they'll stop trying to control other people. But as we know, with wisdom, that's just an insecurity. So you just got to smile and be compassionate, because people deep down are kind. You look around the world and you think, really? And I think folk might think I'm naive and rose-coloured glasses, but this is my answer to that, Mark. I'd rather live in Brenda's world than live in half of the people on the planet.
Well, I also, this is, I want to dive deeper into how you help authors like myself for the first time get a decent book out there. And in my mind, I was kind of where you were earlier on, saying, some companies are saying you can do it in 30 days. No way at all can you do that. And I think the mindset of at least a year and probably more like 18 months is a really good one. You set that up right at the beginning. You sort of softened my eagerness to get something done as opposed to get it right.
Tame the puppy, the Andrex puppy that bounds about with it.
That's me. I'm Tigger.
So
Yeah,
you've got to tame puppies.
that's it. But also then understand the journey. That's the point. First of all, make
Yeah.
the commitment, I'm going to write a book. Second, decide to use Book Brilliance Publishing, because without that structured, knowledgeable help, there's no way my book would be anywhere near as good as it is. As simple as that. So it's essential, I think. It's not a nice to have a publisher.
Mm.
And then it's actually use your team. Tell me a little bit about all of the resources that Book Brilliance Publishing bring to the support you give your authors.
So everything, I was trained as a holistic practitioner. When you teach primary school children and even secondary school children, so I've taught from 3 to 19. And it's really, remind me of your question, because it's just gone out my head.
This is about, tell me about
all the resources that you bring. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going deeper into what
Yeah.
Book Brilliance brings.
Yeah,
Tell me about the team and the resources.
Holistic, sorry, just for some reason it just out my head. Yeah, so it's that holistic approach. So as we already established, it's about knowing your why. So it's a narrative approach: the why, the what, the where, the how, all of that, the when. So you bring that. So I know that knowledge from working with neurodiverse people, being part of a multidisciplinary team, working with speech and language therapists. So my understanding of language development, acquisition is absolutely top drawer, as is English, understanding how we can back to control, how we are the authors of our life, how we are the authors of how we tell story. Now, we learn so much at primary school and it goes out your head. But actually, if you start to get serious about writing, it's good to get back into some of the elements that you need. So, as you know, when people come to Book Brilliance Publishing, they're working with me. Now, I love when people don't have a manuscript. Sometimes I have a manuscript and we've got to rewrite it. Or sometimes it's really good. Not very often, I've got to say. Sorry, but truth, I told you truth.
No, but this is the point about helping, right? You know,
Yeah,
that
well,
it's the
I don't
first
think
time I've written a book.
I'm a North Star. I'm a guide. I have to extract from potential authors what they want. And then, as you know, like you were writing this pamphlet, and I says, that's not a book.
It's not a book.
But you thought it was a book.
I did. I had no idea. I was clueless.
Yeah, right. Okay, and most people are, to be fair. You know, I've got like 30 odd years experience, so why would somebody that's never written a book think they know what to do? They don't.
Well, that's the point, Brenda. That's the point. I mean, I'm articulate and, you know, I've got good use of words and all that stuff, but I've never done that. I've never written a book. So without proper guidance, without a North Star, there's structure, precision, iteration as well. It's like, try something else and think about this. So there's that constant guide and reassurance, frankly, Brenda. Do you know what I mean? When you send the first chapter in and we'll give you feedback. And in the main, that's a reassurance, isn't it? It's like, you're on the right lines. You might want to do this, this, and this to make it even better. That's massive. First chapter in and then feedback.
And all that happens, so as you know, it happens in the beginning with me because I taught it, right? And I know the nuances of language, and I know even in non-fiction, you need to do show, not tell. I've written about it today. You can't just dump all you know. You have to take your reader on a journey. They're the hero of the story. You need to know when you're taking them up, when you're taking them down, giving them a little surprise. Just like if you're writing a thriller, you turn the page, I never thought that would going to happen. Oh, I knew it was going to be him. It's the same in non-fiction. And that's the thing. People don't connect dots, whereas I'm a great connector and I connect all the dots, right? I love dot to dot as a child. I blame that, you know. But so it's knowing all the nuances, and I do believe my interpersonal skills are of a high caliber, and I listen. And do you know what the secret is? Because my purpose in life is to bring out the brilliance in others. I've done it all my life since I was a child. I raised money for Biafrans when I was 9. When a kid came to school, they were bullied or they didn't have a friend, I was the befriender. Then when they found another person, they left me and I was on my own, doing my own thing. And I've always been like that. So when I was a teacher, I always wanted to bring out the best in my children in front of me in that class, the parents, my team, the leadership team, no matter who I work with. And recently in this last year, 18 months, the caliber of people approaching Book Brilliance Publishing is totally top drawer. And, I spoke to someone.
I managed to slip in there somehow.
Of course you're top drawer, for goodness sake. Of course you are. Of course you are. I think
But it's the journey of your business, isn't it, Brenda? That's
Yeah.
natural as well, because I think the quality is rising naturally in that context, isn't it? I'm going to give you some feedback, actually. One of the things I love to do for the podcast is I use ChatGPT and I say, what makes my guest particularly special? So ChatGPT, what makes Brenda Dempsey of Book Brilliance Publishing special? And it says, and this is the point you've just made, elevates other authors, number one. And that's your point about helping people find their own level of brilliance.
Yeah.
Second, guides from the idea to the audience. So that's exactly what we've been talking about all the way through. I had a core idea. You guided me all the way through to the point at which now this has an audience. And then the third one is impactful storytelling author. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Tell stories,
Yeah.
As you can see, I'll answer a question, then I want to tell you a story about somebody I've met, I've had a conversation with. Maybe it's a bit of a case study. Maybe it's a personal story that I've shared. So you can see already in this interview today, I don't want to call it interview, conversation, cozy chat, conversation, whatever you want to call it, Mark, is that I've shown different ways to weave story into what you're doing to make your point. And I've just been writing about that today, that actually the best books, you set a scene, you're setting the scene first and foremost. So the scene could be a conversation, inner dialogue. The scene could be an observation, or sometimes you might just want to inform, but within one or two lines, you're straight into a story. Your book is filled with story. Filled with story. And, that's what makes it brilliant. I've got a number of authors whose books are filled with story, gives so much credibility and authority. And hence, that's why I love doing anthologies, because I get to speak to so many people and help them unravel the story. Because you're right. Like when you've got 30, 40 years experience, what do you talk about, what do you put in and what do you leave out? Well, when you go back to your purpose and all of that, it becomes clear what stories you need to tell, what you won't tell. And of course, a lot of these outtakes, if you want to call them, they can make bonus chapters and they can be used elsewhere. It's all that magical content that you've got, but it's repurposing it as well. Like I showed you last week, how to take your book, open it at a page, read a sentence, read a small paragraph. Before you know it, you've got a post.
Yeah, love
and
it.
that's
Absolutely love it.
Your book, so many pages on your book. Can't remember the number was 240 pages. So that's definitely around 50,000 words or so.
About that.
Yeah, about that. You've got 5 years worth of marketing in here because you're repurposing. And this is a mistake authors make. They write the book, put it down. What will I write about? They deviate, they go off. Because when I read your book and hear your voice, when I'm listening to you now, it should be the same voice.
Yeah, no, and it does. That's the magical feedback I've had, is that, I'm reading this and I can hear you talking, and that's again with the advice from your team. It's really, really cool. What's the biggest output
before you go into that? Where we started about 20 minutes or so ago.
Go for it.
You said, so this is you speaking. From my point of view, we need more female leaders like Missy, because we need role models for future generation. Female leaders inspire young girls and women to pursue leadership roles, breaking societal stereotypes. I can hear you say that.
Yeah, I'm pretty passionate about that.
You've not tried to be clever. You've not used language that people don't understand. You've used everyday, intelligent language that people reading your book is going to get what you're talking about. That passion comes through, and the value in female leadership is from page 1 to page 241 is filled with that.
Thanks, Brenda. Thanks for that advert. I appreciate it. What's the outcome of being an author? And you're very coherent about this, and I think it's very powerful for anyone considering it. What does it give you once you've become an author? So I am now a published author, thanks to you. What does that give me? I know the answer, but I think it's nice to share it with everyone else. What do you have that you didn't have before?
You have credibility that's documented. Not only that, it's all about legacy, because I had a client the other day, and the British Library wrote to me requesting the 5 copies of her book. So her book is going straight to the British Library. It went that very day.
Wow.
And, you know, her book's in the annals of all time in the British Library. And, you know, in a couple of months' time, she lives in Dublin. She can come over, go to the British Library, request her book. Now, you've got to give them a couple hours' notice, you know. So you get
Yes,
credibility.
wonderful.
Because you've got the lived experience. A lot of folks say, but I haven't got this degree, I haven't got that. You don't need it. You need the lived experience.
Yeah.
But you know what you need more than the lived experience? You need the lessons. I can listen to heartbreaking stories. I will not cry, right? Not because I'm a hard-faced whatever. No, because I know it's the lessons. It's how you turn it around. That's going to make me cry. People who overcome adversity, they find joy, they find positivity. That's going to make me cry. Joy will always bring a tear to my eye. Anything that touches my soul. So you get authority when you write a book, but in a special way. You don't automatically get the authority. And a lot of people just write, but they don't reference anything. Now, look, non-fiction for commercial purposes, it's not academic. We don't need a bibliography written in a Harvard way or anything like that. All we need is maybe further reading, maybe a few endnotes.
Yeah,
but if you don't talk about other exponents, other people who are similar to you, if you don't talk about the latest research, even you could get a great blogger who you can reference them, but you've got to be referencing, and it's about the balance. Do it too much and it's like boring, nobody's going to read your book. But it's a sprinkling, and again, I've written about that today in The Confident Author, and that's important. But most of all, it's as you know, I said, if it's about making money from selling your book, I am not your publisher. But if you want to not just make a difference, but make an impact, have longevity, and leave a legacy, live the legacy now, because it's about moving forward. It's about forward facing. It's not what am I leaving behind? What am I leaving for the next generation? My voice matters, your voice matters, and your life matters. And that's why I believe everybody should write at least one book, whether it's a business book, it's a memoir, whatever it is that floats your boat. And the reason I say this is a numberfold. My sister died on Christmas Day 2016. And a few days later, within a week of her dying, we were in the house, and you're starting to have to go through things because you've got to sell a house and all sorts of stuff. We found a carrier bag with over 300 poems. Now, I knew my sister liked poetry, but I never knew my sister had written 300 poems.
Wow.
Right? So in my first book that I wrote, I published one of my sister's poems. There's a whole story behind that I don't want to discuss here today. But she died with regret. She died not living the life she was born to live, not being herself. She was so introverted, and she didn't go anywhere. She didn't mix except with her family. She had friends when she was slightly younger, but she got older. She just retreated, and I think that happens to too many people. But she had such joy in writing and expression. She came alive when she jumped in her car, went up Loch Lomond, wrote her poetry, took her photographs, and, but it was all too hidden. And she died with that regret, not having lived her life to the full, And so for me, fulfillment, being fulfilled, having meaning to your life, not just for others, of course, that's a big part of it, but also for yourself. Because when you're fulfilled and you have meaning in your life, purpose, you've got a drive, you know, life brings a joie de vivre that you can't experience without it. And that's why I write about brilliance and positivity. And that's why I'm writing a book so far removed from the media, from people, because people don't want to know what you're good at. People don't want to know what you're brilliant at. But actually, I want people to know that they're brilliant. And when people understand that and they get that realization and they recognize it, they change beyond measure. We know so many stories where people have been in jail, they've been murderers, they've been all sorts, and they can turn their life around. People who've contemplated suicide or all these terrible things. We might need to do a trigger warning because I've spoken about that. But we all can. You said it earlier, and the I can mindset. When I was a teacher above my class, there was 2 words, I can, and no child in that class was allowed to say I can't. And do you know what I did? Here's another wee story. What I did was, I keep forgetting the guy's name. Is it Nick Chichinovich or something? I can't remember his name. He's got no arms and he's got no legs.
Oh,
He
yes.
goes
Yeah, I know the one.
all over. I keep forgetting his name. That's my age, I suppose. And when my kids went, oh, I can't do that, I can't write, I can't this, I can't that, I went, pencils down, I put all the lights off, and I put a 2-minute video of that guy, and my God, my kids picked their pens up or did their work and got on with it, and they ended up loving the Mozart effect, writing in the dark, all the calming, because the extra sensory. So I can are the 2 most powerful words on this planet. And I've talked about Viktor Frankl already, and I keep coming back to him, as you can tell. It's not that I don't know other stories, but he is
No,
just
it's
epitome of I can.
it's profoundly impressive what he did mentally when physically he was in the worst position he could ever possibly be in.
Yeah, I know.
I just want to summarize what you said, Brenda, in terms of why or what do you get as a result of finishing a book? And these are really important. You
Okay.
get fulfillment,
Yeah,
you get credibility,
yeah.
you create a meaningful legacy, and you get authority.
You get
And I think those are
authority.
incredibly powerful reasons to do it.
Mhm.
Final question for me, and a really important one, because when I ask people, if you were to write a book, what would you write about? Sometimes people know instantly, in which case they're close to going for it. But a lot of people say, oh, I don't know. How can you inspire people to know what they should write about? What's the step to get there?
The P word, what you're passionate about, what floats your boat. Even if you're not doing it now, you may one day. You're not, even my own children, I know, maybe not them all, at least half of them, so that's at least 2 of them,
At least 2.
are not doing what they want to do.
Their real passion. Not yet.
Not their
Not
real,
yet.
not yet, not yet. They think time's passed them by. I never started Book Brilliance Publishing until I was 62.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
it doesn't matter your age. If you've got the passion and you've got something that you can share, then you can start to find what it is you want to write about. What can you teach? What can you teach another person that even if it's one thing is all you have to be brilliant at to teach, so that you pass that legacy forward. And for me, passion, what you love doing. So I love people, and I love seeing people shine. I love putting people on a pedestal. I love seeing their brilliant shine. I love seeing their reaction. When people get the book in their hand for the first time, we often get tears. I get, Brenda,
It's magic.
You've made my dreams come
Silver
true.
leaf. Magic.
Sorry, I don't
Magic
know why
silver.
my thing's on reverse. I didn't realise that. Um, and You know, so you got all these sort of, as I call them, rose tinted glasses responses. But you know what? They're not. And this is who we are. We are that brilliant, beautiful person. We're a divine spark. If you think of the sun giving off all those flares are part of the sun. So that's who we are. And that's nothing to do with religion. That's a spiritual thing. We've all got that spark within us. We all know it. And this life is about coming home to who we are. And I'm going to cry because that's what my book's all about. It's who we
Bingo.
are and who we're coming on. And when the say the tears come from joy, when you hit your soul, well, for me, it'll be different for other people. The water comes to my eyes, my body tingles, and I just feel a sense of euphoria that you don't get from much else. Maybe becoming a mother, yeah, nothing beats that. But, you know, in life, that, you know, when I see someone click, I just cry. And it was the same when I taught kids. The kids would go, "Miss, why are you crying?" I go, "It's because you finally got it."
Yeah,
Like,
you've got it. By Jove.
Yeah. And
You've got it.
actually, you know, when they get it, they stand 10 foot tall. And that's what happens when you publish a book. If you publish a book well, you'll definitely feel that tallness, and you have a confidence and an air. But I'm sure maybe we'll come back another time later down the line. But we need to talk about what happens when you've actually got that book and it's in your hand, because
Well, it's the other thing you do is marketing. You know, you help support the next stage of getting it out there to enough people.
So there is a next stage that I'm working on. Again, I will share. It's called the Author's Ascent, and it's for people who really are committed, they live life on purpose, they're values led, they want to leave an impact, because it's not for the faint hearted. I'm sorry, it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's longevity, and it happens. However, you can get immense success. One of my other clients, the success he's had, his book's been at #1 2.5 years because he is so committed to that book. He eats, breathes and sleeps it. We're publishing another one in the summer for him, and that's equally going to be good. But his area of expertise is GDPR, so that's a very buzz area. And the next one is about the AI Act that comes out in the summer. So, you know, it's important. It's important that you've got that commitment. And again, you want to see the best in others. And I know, Mark, we, as I said the other day, we are the yin and yang. You're the male version of me, and I'm the female version of you. We love the same things. We love people.
It is. It's the yellow energy. It's the can-do, yellow positivity, sunshine energy.
That's me. I describe myself as I am love and I'm sunshine energy. And sometimes that's too much for people. And you know what? I'm unapologetic, because it's taken me all this time to get to that point in my life. And I will not dull it for anyone. Up there, my daughter got me. You can't see it, but it says, "Shine bright like a diamond. Don't let anyone dull your sparkle." You know, and that's my mantra too.
Well, I just got to say to Captain Brenda Dempsey, thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Thank you very much, Mark. It was a pleasure. See, look how I feel now. So much brighter. Watch this back, watch me at the beginning and watch me at the end. That's the joy of doing what I do.